Welcome back to the Race for the White House. In the past week, you've sent us over 8,000 emails and flooded our voicemail. We had a great time reading all these, and now it's your turn to play with the panel. And still with us, Rachel, Maddow, Eugene Robinson, Mike Murphy, and Joe Scarborough. Many of the responses today came from Florida and Michigan. Here's a sample of what one of you had to say. Listen.
I'm a Floridian, and I must say, you know what? We want our vote to count. But don't punish us, because those who moved up to date, those are the people you should have the problem with. Florida residents should all have the opportunity to have their voice heard.
Joe Scarborough, you got to feel bad for voters who feel that way, but it's, rules are rules here, and the party was clear about it.
What do? You're exactly right. It was the Republican governor and legislature that moved up the date. They broke the rules. It hurt the Democrats, but I can tell you there is misplaced anger, perhaps with the Democratic National Committee, but there is anger among Florida Democrats. I've heard it for a very long time. My Democratic friends in Congress have heard it for a very long time. I don't know that there's a big issue in the fall, but my gosh, if I had to pick a state to upset a group of people, Florida would probably be on the bottom of that list.
It's unbelievable, right? All right, in light of Reverend Wright's remarks, an emailer wants to know this. Why has no one asked John McCain to distance himself from some of the reprehensible characters who have endorsed him? For instance, Trent Lott and Pastor Tom Hagee, to name a few. Rachel, you've been talking about this today and wondering if there's some kind of double standard here.
I think there is a double standard. I think the Republican Party played at its trough in a very public and acknowledged way with the religious right, and that seems to have inoculated them from any questions about the extremism of the people who they've really dragged into the political arena. On the Democratic side, everybody's pastor is fair game, but on the Republican side, it's amazing that this Rod Parsley... No, Joe, I'm serious. It's amazing that the Rod Parsley...
This is not a serious argument.
Joe.
This is a ridiculous argument when you consider that Barack Obama is talking about his spiritual advisor for 20 years. Hagee didn't baptize McCain's kids.
Okay,
Hagee didn't bury McCain.
Okay, Joe.
John McCain's first book wasn't based on a sermon by Hagee.
Okay,
this is
Joe,
a silly
fair
point.
enough. Joe, but tell me this. Who is John McCain identified in this campaign season as his spiritual guide? Who is he named? He named his spiritual guide, and then he did campaign events with him in Ohio.
His name is...
He said his spiritual guide is Rod Parsley. Right?
John McCain does not have a spiritual advisor. The reason John Wayne...
He said it. I'm quoting him.
The reason why progressives in Manhattan like John McCain so much is because John McCain is not wed to the religious right. If you can laugh that off, then,
all right, but wait a minute. But Mike Murphy is this...
Rachel, this is not a McCain guy.
I'm quoting John McCain.
Rachel, this is not just a silly point.
This is being asserted as it's a misquote. He's the
John
one who claims
McCain
Parsley as
that
argument.
Guide. Hold on one second, guys. John McCain sought out the endorsement of Hagee. Wasn't a situation like Obama where he was his preacher for a long time. He sought out this endorsement despite his views.
That's exactly right. And that means what we've got there is a situation between public actions and private actions. In Barack Obama's private life, he has a pastor. In John McCain's public life, in which he's running for office, he sought and received and said he was publicly honored by the political endorsement of two pastors who are really controversial.
It's just not going to work.
You got nothing here, Rachel.
All right, we're going to move on.
Hey, and you know what? John McCain also doesn't know the difference between Sunnis and Shia after he's been awake for 48 hours.
All right,
boy, that's a winning platform.
We are going to move on here.
3 in the morning. Who was that on the phone again? Was it Sunni, Shia? I can't didn't know. Didn't catch the name.
Oh boy, you know what? I feel Missouri switching over to Obama now.
Yeah, right. Melissa in California lobs the panel this question. I think this won't cause quite as much debate. Listen.
I'm curious what your panelists think is the most important quality for a president to have. Hillary Clinton's campaign has brought up the issue of experience, but in your panelist's experience or opinion, is experience the most important quality or judgment?
Mike Murphy, go.
Well, I think experience can be overrated. There are people in the Democratic Party who've been wrong for 50 years. I think it's a combination of experience, but also vision, wisdom, and honor. And I think that's McCain.
So Joe Scarborough? I may surprise some people. I think it's judgment. I think it's the type of person, how he or she makes decisions. The thing I've been the most impressed about, and I have not been throwing ticker tape parades for Barack Obama over the past couple days. The thing that I like so much about Barack Obama is when there is a problem, He doesn't parse the issue. He doesn't go away. He doesn't fight it for 2 or 3 years. He gets out in front of it. I like how this man operates in crisis situations. He's been very impressive how he does that. That's the type of president we need, that is not afraid to throw out the rule book and say, you know what, I'm just going to step right up. I'm going to take this crisis head on. I think that's refreshing.
All right, next email. A New Yorker writes this. We want to know who a candidate's VP choice will be. Why should we be asked to bet the farm again without knowing whether we are going to end up with another Cheney, Rumsfeld, Libby team of arrested development adolescents, long on power mongering and short on smarts? Gene, they should know the VP choice earlier on.
Yeah, but that's just not going to happen. We're not going to go to like a British system where the opposition party has a whole shadow cabinet and you kind of know what position everybody's going to occupy if they get into power. Our candidates like to and feel they need to keep their options open, and who knows who'll be left standing and left viable at the end. I do not, however, think there's going to be an Obama-Clinton or Clinton-Obama ticket. I think that's either way. I think is quite unlikely.
Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think if Barack picked her, he'd need a food tester. There's no way she'd take it, no way he should get it.
That's awful.
All right, hey, what about this?
I'm
Al Gore
joking,
met
of
behind
course.
closed doors in New York with Michael Bloomberg yesterday. John in Connecticut wants to know, is Al Gore planning a third-party candidacy with Michael Bloomberg as the VP, Rachel? Now we're really stretching.
And will the Easter Bunny perhaps be the Secretary of Defense? No. I think that the prolonged and pointless nature of the Democratic primary system at this point is leading to some fantasies that involve third-party candidates, that involve Al Gore. Maybe that even involve Michael Bloomberg, which is hard to believe, but I think this is pure fiction.
But, Joe Scarborough, how far-fetched is this idea when you have the Democrats headed towards stalemate? Isn't the possibility of somebody riding in on the white horse still something to talk about?
Well, Bloomberg was going to make his decision in February. He'd get on the ballots in March. And in February, it looked like Barack Obama was going to be the nominee. He was changed. He was the third way. Now with Hillary Clinton getting back in the fight and possibly cloning, perhaps he's thinking about it again. But I would guess, I don't know all the rules, I would guess it's way too late.
Yeah.
Mike Bloomberg, Eugene Robinson, Mike Bloomberg knows how to keep his hat in the ring, though, doesn't he?
Well, he sure keeps his name out there, but in the final analysis, Al Gore is a Democrat, number one. He's not going to run on any third-party ticket. And number two, I take Bloomberg at his word. He says he's not going to run. He's not going to run. I think it's awfully late to start that.
He's taken himself out of it, I think, pretty clearly.